straight up, let's go. Welcome to Straight Up TJAY. Tap in, sit back, press replay. Been locked in with the Saints on a weekday. Now we talking every sport, every big play. Years on the grind, now we level up the view. From the dome to the world, get a better look at you. No script.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. So if you see TJ Jones, you already know I am the host of the Straight Up TJAY Podcast. Thank you all so much for checking out Straight Up TJAY right here on wherever you're watching. Rather you're on YouTube, rather you're on TikTok, rather you're on Twitch, rather you're on X. Hopefully on X, the social media, not the other X. But thank you all so much for being here. Man, I miss y'all, man. It's been a crazy couple of days, man. I haven't been able to go live, but hopefully everybody enjoyed the shorts that I've been putting out, man. Been putting in a lot of work. Shouts out to my new software that I'm putting out there, man. Trying to bring a little bit more creativity to the platform. But none of this is possible without the fine folks that have been rocking with your boys since the very beginning. And as we know, the draft is on tomorrow if you're watching this on a Wednesday. And you know, I always get a little emotional around this time because, you know, I think about, you know, when I first started this podcast and, you know, basically it just started with an idea, man. I didn't expect for things to end up being the way that they have been over the last 8 years, man. But we are here and, you know, I really enjoy spending time with a lot of people that have been a part of the ride. And, you know, I don't even consider people as just viewers. I consider them as family, man. When I see so many familiar faces that have been here from the very beginning, from the first time we did a draft watch party back in 2020, the historical Cesar Ruiz draft, you know, I think about that and I think about it now. And, you know, rather you were there in 2020 or you're here now, I really do appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel and you just stumbled across it, hopefully we win you over. Now, YouTube said that, you know, I need to shorten my videos. That's what they told me. They said that I need to shorten my videos and maybe people will pay more attention, but I ain't listening to that, man. They already know what it is, man. We are for the people. You can get off where you want to, you know, but hopefully we keep you around because we have a very, very good podcast. We're going to be listening to everybody's favorite general manager, Mickey Loomis. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Mickey Loomis did his pre-draft press conference. And, you know, despite how people may feel about Mickey Loomis and have felt about Mickey Loomis over the last few years, I got to say, the last year and a half, Mickey Loomis and his front office team have done a pretty good job, man, bringing in guys that can help this team win. I believe in Kellen Moore. It seems like, you know, he's the right guy for the job. You know, drafting Tyler Shuck in the second round, you know, using all 9 draft picks. And a lot of those guys, about 85% of them actually paid dividends for the team, contributing in a major way. So Mickey, you know, I got to give him credit, man. As many jokes as we've had on this show, how many songs I have written about Mickey Loomis, you got to give credit where credit is due. They have done a really good job. And look, that doesn't mean that you have to get off their case. That doesn't mean that the things that were said about them wasn't warranted. What I'm saying is it seemed like they're turning a corner and hopefully they can continue to trend in the right direction. And we're going to be talking about this. We're going to be breaking it down. We're going to be doing a reaction video. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Straight Up TJ, we're doing a little bit more reaction videos for those that may have not checked out some of the content that we have been putting out so far. But do want to give a special shout out to those that are in the chat. All right. Special shout out to everyone here. Just want to say thank you. Shouts out to Jerry, always in here first. Keen Arthur, my guy. What's going on, man? Shouts out to Provost. We got We the Guides up in here. We got my boy Paul Parker. Shouts out to Paul. Got Jamal up in here. Derek. Got Cannon. Strolling down a little bit more, we got my boy Jules on that Modelo, I'm sure. One Smoke 23 was happening, man. Appreciate you for being here. We got my boy Damien up in here, man. They finally let y'all work, man. The man they finally let you loose, man. Shouts out to Damian, man. Always working, but always finds time to slide through. Appreciate that. Shouts out to Daniel. And like I said, man, a lot of these people that are in the chat right now, man, they've been here for a long time, man. So I just consider them family. Shouts out to my boy Charlie, man. What's going on, Charlie? Appreciate you. And shouts out to Scott Donaldson up in here, man. Shouts out to Scott. We got the Nag up in here. We got who else we got? We got Greg, man. Greg, what's going on, man? We got B Creole. Yeah, so and if I miss you, charge it to my head and not my heart. But shouts out to anybody that's listening to this right now that's not in the chat. Very, very simple. Very simple. How you can get involved in the show. All you have to do is put your comments in the chat. Hey, what's going on? It's TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and we're about to do what it do, baby. You probably have something to say about the black and gold that's burning hard in your soul. Take those fingers, give them the working. Put them comments in the chat.
Put those comments, put them in the chat.
All you got to do is go ahead and put them things in the chat.
I want to hear what you got to say.
I want to hear from you.
Talk to me and not so bad.
Oh, you ain't got to worry about it. All you got to do is talk to me. I talk back to you now.
Put those comments, put them in the chat.
All you got to do is put them comments in the chat.
I want to hear what you got to say.
I want to hear from you.
Talk to me and not so bad.
Talk to me. I guarantee you. I'm going to talk right back to you.
Nice.
Probably not helping the retention rate, but we don't care. All right. We like to have fun over here. Right. So hopefully you're still here. And for those that ain't here, all right. Shouts out to all those that want to be here live, but couldn't make it. Probably had something else to do. Shouts out to them after show boys and after show girls.
Shouts out to them after show boys. Shouts out to them after show boys. They be tweeting and be posting. They be tweeting and be posting. They be tweeting. Yeah, them after show boys. They be tweeting and be posting. They be tweeting and be posting. They be tweeting. Yeah, them after show boys.
Shouts out to all the after show boys, after show girls out there. Really do appreciate your time. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's break down this video. Now, I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, who that nation, sports fans, I did not check out this press conference. The only thing I saw, shouts out to WDSU's Fletcher Mackel. I only seen one part. It was like a 1-minute clip about Mickey Loomis talking about not looking for outliers, which is the reason why the thumbnail looks the way that it does. That's the only thing I seen. All right. That's the only thing I seen. So I'm basically watching this raw and uncut, right? I don't know what I'm about to hear. The only thing I know is he was talking about outliers. That's all I know. And I did it purposely because I wanted to get a real reaction from it. So what y'all going to hear, this isn't prep. I don't script anything. Anybody knows me know that I don't script nothing, all right? Raw emotion, all right? So we're going to break this thing down. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk a little bit about it. Got Mickey Loomis on the screen here. Going to go ahead and move this out of the way so y'all can see my handsome face right here. And we're going to go ahead and break this thing down, man. Mickey Loomis, pre-draft press conference, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
All right. How's everyone?
We all right.
Let's get this show going. Yeah, questions.
Whoa, my bad. I forgot about this. Ladies and gentlemen. I forgot about this. We have a ritual here on the Straight Up TJ podcast that we started. When we do these reactions, put it in the chat what you drinking on tonight. All right. It don't have to be an alcoholic beverage. Like right now, I'm drinking a LaCroix. This is a pineapple coconut sparkling water right here. But I did. Hold on. I gotta take Mick off the screen just for a second, ladies and gentlemen. I got to take him off the screen here because I got a shot glass, all right? And as you can see, you get closer, it is a New Orleans Saints shot glass, all right? Now, this is sparkling water, all right? But I do want to propose a toast, here on this edition. All right, because once again, back in 2020 was the first time we did a draft reaction show, and this was something that was like something that basically started this whole me being on camera thing. Like anybody that was watching it before, no, that's when it really started, you know, the whole podcast experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post some of this LaCroix in his shot glass, and I'm going to propose a toast. All right. I'm going to propose a toast to everybody here that made the State of the Saints podcast what it is and making me your go-to guy when it comes to New Orleans Saints. So cheers to you. Yes, that is sparkling water. So my family looking at it like, man, he up here getting tipsy on camera. No, I am not. All right. All right. Now I just want to make that very, very clear. But let's go ahead and get back into it, man. Give y'all what y'all came here for. Not me just rambling off, but Mickey Loomis. Here we go. Here we go.
Some acknowledgments that there's some form of rebuilding mode or, you know, restocking mode or whatever the right term is for that in the last year or two. Does that change your philosophy on the aggressiveness of trading up that you've always had, Joe?
No, not really.
Or the belief that more picks is needed or better or anything like that?
No, I don't think it does. We're going to approach this the same way. And look, I say this every year. We're not opposed to backing up if it makes sense to us, but it hasn't made sense to us the last few years.
There's been talk of, arm length for, defensive linemen, especially a guy like Reuben Bain. When you analyze defensive linemen, how much does that kind of play a role into things? And is there, certain circumstances where a player's tape could, overmatch any, quote unquote short arms? Yeah,
I think what, how the guy plays always overrides everything. So let's start with that. But I do think we've got a lot of data that tells us what plays in the NFL. And this isn't exclusive to the defensive line. It's all the positions. We know what plays in the NFL. And we have some measurements that we can look at and say, man, that's an outlier. We're not looking for outliers. I say this to our guys. I've said this over the years. If we are looking for exceptions, then we're not going to be here very long because exceptions are exceptions. So we're not looking for exceptions, but we recognize that there are exceptions. And so if someone has some traits that don't match what plays in the NFL, then we better have some other things that tell us that he can overcome that.
All right, so here we go. This was the part that I saw. This was the clip that I saw. Mickey Loomis basically talking about the outliers. Look, I understand what I actually think what he's saying makes some sense, right? You look at the analytics, you look at some of the data that tells you certain things about players. You do that in order for you to break down, the player and see if that player is the right fit for your team. But I will say this. Based on the analytics, based on the data over the last couple of years when it comes to the New Orleans Saints, how has that data helped them out? I'm going to say that again. Based on the data that Mickey Loomis is alluding to, the analytics, et cetera, how has that worked out for the New Orleans Saints over the last few years? Because it seems to me that they have been whiffing on some of these draft picks. And don't even get me started about some of these guys that were on their defensive line. It seemed like the New Orleans Saints had a type when it came to these defensive linemen. 6'6", 6'7", long wingspan, athletic, maybe be able to move a little bit. And these guys couldn't get to the quarterback at all. We think about guys like Peyton Turner. We think about guys like Marcus Davenport. And here's the thing. If we're going to be talking about analytics and how that works for you when it comes to a player being on your football team, how about using the analytics and the data when it comes to guys not being healthy? Now, I know this may be upsetting to those Jordan Tyson fans out there, the ones that want Jordan Tyson to be the 8th pick for the Saints. But if the New Orleans Saints were to not draft Jordan Tyson, how can you not understand that? If we're talking about analytics, now there are going to be exceptions to the rule, like Mickey alluded to. But if the numbers are telling you a certain thing, it shouldn't just be about a guy's wingspan and how fast he can run or how he just tests off the charts when it comes to his athleticism. Did the guy get to the quarterback? Is the guy motor consistently running hot? Is there room for improvement in areas that he may lack? Can he be a leader on your team? In the next 4 to 5 years, are we talking about that player being one of the main reasons why your team is finding success? So you got to take a look at that stuff. And when you do, then you draw a conclusion. But I also think that teams need to think about some of the decisions that they made in the past, and they can't just sit up here to try to force those decisions to work. Because if those decisions that you had and made over the last few years, if they don't work, then guess what? You can't make them work. So you could have all the analytics in the world. You got to be able to be brave enough and bold enough to be able to kind of fine tune some of the things that you're actually seeing. Because if not, then you're going to be on the same downward spiral you have been on since you've been drafted. Now, I'm not going to turn my head because you knocked it out of the park in 2025. You still got to build on that momentum. And the question is, can you build on that momentum? So you can't just sit up here and just have one outlier of a draft in 2025 and say, well, we got it together. Because the moment you feel like you got things together, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, who that nation, you don't.
And so, yeah, that's my answer to that.
Mickey, you saying at number 8 in this year's draft, how much do you like this position in the draft, and how ideal is it for this particular class?
Well, I don't like it because it means that last year didn't go very well. So you don't want to be picking in the top 10. But once, you get to the draft and you look at the quality of the players that exist, yeah, you get excited about, I know we're going to get a really good player at pick 8. So you get excited about that, a guy that can have an impact on your team.
Yeah, how do you guys define the unknowns that you can't maybe see on film? Like a guy that you think might be able to rush and pass it, but he's only maybe has 20 snaps. So there's someone you think might be able to drop back, but hasn't done a whole lot of it.
Well, I think that gets back to traits versus, what you've actually seen. And look, this is where sometimes the off season comes into play in terms of the workouts, the measurables, the things that tell you, yeah, a guy can do something that maybe he hasn't been asked to do yet. And it's a balance, right? It's a balance.
Where do you look at, I guess your thought process is, you talked about the exceptions. Picking in the top 10, you don't do that often. Are you more prone to we follow certain guidelines in the top 10, maybe we could be a little bit more exceptions at 28 than we could at 8?
Yeah, I think for us, we're probably a little more risk averse. When we make a pick there, we want to have a lot of the questions answered about a player. You don't want to pick a player that you have a ton of questions about, and you're just, banking on the unknown. So I think as you go farther back in the draft, you're a little more willing to take a chance on someone. But I think when you're in the top 10 or top 12, whatever the number is, you want to pick players that you have as little doubt as possible that they're going to be successful.
I like this answer right here. This is good stuff right here. I got to give Mickey a hand clap, because what he's basically saying, don't make a difficult situation, make an easy situation difficult. Don't do that. Don't do it. If a guy is showing you everything that you need to see, you pick him. This is why Saints fans should be excited about the Saints having an 8 pick, because the New Orleans Saints addressed some positions of need this past offseason, and now they can go into the draft getting the best player available. The New Orleans Saints are going to draft the best player available, whoever that may be. Whoever the New Orleans Saints draft at 8, if they stay in the number 8 spot, which history has shown us more than likely they will, they are going to draft a really good football player. Don't make a situation hard. Don't try to overthink a situation. Like if Ruben Bain is there and Ruben Bain is one of the top players on your board and that's the guy that is available to you, then you draft him. If Carnell Tate is there, then you draft him. If Jordan Tyson on your list, you draft him. Don't make a easy situation more difficult. A lot of teams end up overthinking situations and they find themselves not picking the right player. They try to be the smartest person in the entire room. What does the tape say? And more than likely, if you're getting picked in the top 10, you're going to flash. Yeah, I mean, you showed that you are an elite collegiate player. So the New Orleans Saints are going to get an elite collegiate player. This isn't like, oh, the Saints, oh, what they're going to do at number 19. Number 19, like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about number 8. So I agree with Mickey. I do. I agree with him. Don't make a situation difficult. Make it as easy as possible. If Ruben Bain is available, he's top of your list, get him. If David Bailey is top of your list, get him. Right? I mean, if Caleb Downs is top of your list, get him. Sonny Styles, get him. I don't think any of those gentlemen that I just named, if Roger Goodell reads their name, Saints fans would get upset. Now, you probably would. I mean, you're not going to satisfy everybody. But if you're getting elite players, Saints fans have no choice but to understand that, because the New Orleans Saints picked the best player available at a position of need that they needed in order to make that position group better. And that's all you can ask for.
Does the timer going from 10 minutes to 8 minutes in the first round change like the legwork you have to do on trades and stuff ahead of the draft?
No, I don't really. I mean, I don't know yet. I mean, we went from 15 to 10 at one point, and I didn't feel like that had a big impact. I don't think it will, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Is there a couple positions that make this draft a little deeper?
You know, I don't know that I can say that, because deeper than what? I mean, you know, last year or the year before, or, you know, obviously there's fewer quarterbacks being talked about in the first round, so that changes the dynamic a little bit. But, you know, and I hear sometimes, you know, this isn't a very deep draft. I seem like I hear that every year from different people, and I kind of feel like that's a little bit of an excuse that if the draft doesn't go well. I think there's good players in every draft. I think there's guys that are going to be Pro Bowl type players, and it's our job to identify them, and then hopefully we have an opportunity to take them.
Man, I'm going to say this. I'm tired of this too. I'm tired of prognosticators, talking heads, just because you don't have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the quarterback position, that a draft is trash. Like, seriously, I'm tired of that. Like, I get it. The quarterback is the most polarizing position in sports. Everybody loves a quarterback. Everybody likes to see the arm talent, the erratic throws, all this type of stuff, and the possibility of that said quarterback on your football team. But just because people are just talking about two quarterbacks mostly, Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson, doesn't mean that this draft doesn't have guys that are talented, that will not make a team better. That's ridiculous, man. We need to get off this just quarterback stuff, because if we're thinking about it, you got way more quarterbacks that suck in the National Football League, that don't pan out in the National Football League, that get drafted every single year, than those that do. Because if that was the case, think about this. There are only 32 spots in the National Football League. Only 32 quarterback positions, 32 starting quarterbacks. But every single year, you see more and more quarterbacks like losing their job. Kyler Murray is about to start for the Minnesota Vikings. He didn't start his career with the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold, he's playing for the Seattle Seahawks. He didn't start his career with the Seattle Seahawks. We don't like to have this conversation, but you got to ask yourself this question. Why is it that we're looking for quarterbacks every single year? It's because the ones that we thought was going to change the misfortunes of our franchises didn't pan out. So for you to say that just because you only got 2 quarterbacks that people are talking about, oh, this draft is a wash, miss me with that. I get it. I understand where ratings come from. I understand what talking heads want to talk about. Everybody want to talk about the quarterback. They want to talk about how great he is. They want to talk about how he cost the team the victory. They want to talk about how he's the greatest thing since sliced toast bread. They want to talk about how he makes everybody around him better. But just to say that just because we're talking about 2 quarterbacks this year does not mean that this draft is not going to be successful. You might have a bunch of Hall of Fame offensive linemen in the draft. You might have some really good all-pro defensive linemen in the draft. You might have some lockdown corners in the draft. Think about that 2011 draft that Cam Jordan was a part of. Think about all of those guys that were a part of that draft. Cam Newton was the first overall pick. Cam Newton wasn't terrible. I think we all would agree with that. But you're talking about J.J. Watt in that draft. You're talking about Cam Jordan in that draft. You're talking about Von Miller in that draft. You're talking about Julio Jones in that draft. You're talking about Mark Ingram in that draft. You're talking about all of those different guys. And I'm just saying, what quarterback in 2011 that stood out in that draft that you're going to talk about that is going to wear a gold jacket? But I can tell you about J.J. Watt wearing a gold jacket. I can tell you about Cam Jordan wearing a gold jacket. I can tell you about Von Miller wearing a gold jacket. I can tell you about Julio wearing a gold jacket. I can tell you about that. So miss me with this stuff about, oh, it's because, man, it ain't got a bunch of quarterbacks. No, the real reason why people are getting upset and want to throw this whole process away, this whole draft away, is because it has become extremely lazy as hell to lean on the quarterbacks every single year because everybody want to talk about them. But now you got to really start digging and doing some dirt and really doing some research about finding things about these guys, because it's easy to say, oh man, this guy missed a throw at his pro day. Any Joe Blow off the street can tell you what a good throw and a bad throw is looking like. If a ball sails over somebody's head, that isn't a Harvard graduate right there. That's just a everyday Joe Blow. So yeah, I'm sick of that, man. I agree with Mickey. Like, man, you don't know what you have in the draft. And we need to just stop relying so much on a damn quarterback position. Like, man, yeah, quarterback position is extremely important. You're not winning much without a quarterback. But damn, other guys get paid too. And if you have some really good defensive players on your team, really good offensive linemen on your team, really good linebackers on your team, really good running back, you still can find success. So miss me with that.
Mickey, you had your staff, a lot of your staff at the Senior Bowl, Joe Thomas, coach.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you had a head start on everybody else?
Yeah, I think it's look, we did have a lot of coaches at the Senior Bowl and at the East-West game, and look, that's development opportunity for those coaches, but it's a great opportunity for us to get more information on players that are going to be prominent in this draft, and so that was really good for us.
Speaking of things you probably hear every year, a lot of people think next year's draft class is really stacked. Do you try to have a beat on that when you're evaluating?
No, I think it just changes. Not really. I mean, I'll ask that question now and then of Jeff and say, hey, what does next year look like in terms of a position or overall? But I don't know that it's not that prominent in terms of when we're making those discussions, just because things change so much over the course of the college season.
And I guess the opposite side of that, the class you had last year, immediate impact guys, not as impactful as like 2017 or 06, but the fact that you had a class with so much immediate impact and got your quarterback, how does that alter or make you want to have a proper class to follow them up this year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it changes anything. We always want to have a great draft class. I thought it was great for our scouts and Jeff and his people to get recognized for last year's success. but it doesn't have any impact on what we're doing this year.
Yesterday, Tyler Shuck talked about like how he's been evaluating receivers. Like how much input do you all let him have, or like how involved is he in?
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll ask any of our players that have a crossover with someone in this draft, and it's always the young guys that played with someone. If they've played with someone, we talk to them about, hey, what kind of guy is he? How did he, learn? How did he practice? So we ask questions of all our guys. It wasn't just Tyler. It's everybody on our team that has a crossover with a player that's in this draft that we may have an interest in.
Man, let me say this. Look, I like Tyler Shuck as well as the next man, but man, he shouldn't have no say-so when it comes to like their selection. I'm sorry, like he shouldn't. Like, I know that may not be popular opinion, and I'm not saying like, oh, what Mickey said that he did, he shouldn't do, but like it shouldn't be like Tyler Shuck has the deciding factor. Like, no. All right. Look, we all are hoping that Tyler Shuck is everything that Saints fans need him to be and what this organization needs him to be. Now, he should not be the main reason why the New Orleans Saints draft Chris Bell. Because if he is the main reason why the Saints draft Chris Bell, I'm questioning his organization. Because the Saints should have done their homework before they even asked Tyler Shuck anything. Like, it should be more so of a co-assignment, more so than, him just recommending, like, oh man, this is gonna be my guy. This dude right here gonna give you 10 touchdowns in the season. Oh, you really think so, Tyler? No. Would Tyler Shuck love to throw the football to his former teammate? Absolutely. But if somebody the New Orleans Saints have done their homework on, they feel like will give them better production than Chris Bell, you draft that person, regardless of what Tyler Shuck told you, whatever player that he's referring to. Like, you don't do that. Like, your job as a GM, assistant GM, a scout, your job is to evaluate these players on a collegiate level, to try to bring them to your organization for them to help you find success, just like you found Tyler Shuck. Because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people out there. I'm pretty sure Mickey Loomis probably asked about Shuck. I don't know about him, man. He got hurt a lot. So you can't always like rely on people's opinions and views and thoughts about a player. Sometimes you just got to use your gut. In his case, it looks like the New Orleans Saints used their gut and it worked out for him. But no, like I like Tyler Shuck, but man, it should be like, what you think? We're thinking about drafting. Oh man, that would be a great idea. Yeah, you know what? I think it might be a good idea too. But it shouldn't be like to a point where you just asking him like, what you need, Tyler? No, man. No. I agree with Mickey. All right, we're going to hear a little bit more from Mickey Loomis in just a second, but we got to go pay some bills, man. I got to thank the fine folks at Lucy. This is the State of the Saints podcast. And right now, I want to thank the fine folks at Lucy for being the official sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast. And look, everybody is trying to find ways to unwind, to relax, to have focus, and to have more energy. Some people like energy shots, energy drinks, coffee, right? Even neuro pills to try to get you to focus a little bit more. Everybody is trying to find ways to be in a zone and in a really good space. Now, this is for all of the pouch connoisseurs out there. This is where Lucy comes in. Lucy is 100% tobacco-free pouches, right? And it is available to you in 12 milligrams and 4 milligrams. And it also comes with a hydration capsule. So it just gives you that instant burst and a really good experience. I have a friend of mine, gave him an opportunity to try Lucy, and he has been raving about it, going absolutely crazy about it, and wondering how can he get his hands on some more. Well, if you want to get your hands on Lucy and you are a pouch connoisseur, all you have to do is go to lucy.co/code. And if you don't want to wait, all you have to do is go to their store locator and you'll be able to find Lucy in your area. Now, Lucy is for adults only of legal age, and every customer is age verified. This product contains nicotine, and nicotine, as we know, is an addictive chemical. All right, so make sure that you use responsibly. But once again, want to thank the fine folks at Lucy for being an official sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast. And if you are a pouch connoisseur, once again, go to lucy.co/code to get 20% off on Lucy. Fine folks at Lucy, the official sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast. Make sure that you use responsibly and just follow the prompts, man. Follow the directions in order to get your hands on some Lucy today. All right. But if you're just joining us, first off, I just ask that you hit the like button. Please hit the like button, folks. Please hit the like button. I'm glad that you're here. I really am. But please help the channel to grow. Okay. Please help the channel to grow. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Let's help those numbers go up. And you can do so by hitting that like button. But if you're just joining us, we're breaking down the press conference of Saints General Manager Mickey Loomis. And he's speaking a day before the draft and talking about some of the decision making. And I got to say, man, Mickey is a little bit more open in his press conference than he has been in years past. I don't know, maybe he feels a little bit more lax. I mean, things were a little bit more tense over the last couple of years. It seems like, you know, he's kind of loose, letting his hair down a little bit and a little bit more transparent, man. He's not really talking in circles. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just the fact that, you know, they had such a good draft. He mentioned Jeff Ireland. He mentioned the front office team and the scouts. So maybe he just feels like they're trending in the right direction. And when everybody's not breathing down your neck and talking about how you're incompetent and how you can't get the job done, I think you can become a little bit lax. But once again, you got to keep that momentum going. So can the New Orleans Saints keep that momentum going? It all starts tomorrow at the NFL draft. But we're going to continue to hear from Saints General Manager Mickey Loomis.
How many scenarios do you guys prepare for? Like, what's your, like, you know?
How many mock drafts do we do?
Yeah, and then like, you know,
Like 100.
When there's new like trade rumors, do you go back and then start looking through different scenarios and how things might?
Yeah, a
go?
little bit. And look, here's one great thing about the technology now. We can just push a button and do mock drafts. We don't have to, you know, bring all of our scouts in a room and assign them teams, and then they make the pick. You know, we have this technology that allows us to do these mock drafts, and we do a lot of them. We do. And so there's a lot of different scenarios, particularly in the mid to later rounds, you know, because that's where it gets a little, I don't want to say dicey, but that's probably the only word I can think of as to what may happen.
All right. So here's the question of the night. How many mock drafts have you done? How many mock drafts have you done? I know I've done it like 5 or 6. I did my final mock draft, and I'll go ahead and I'll read off the names before we adjourn here on this episode. But how many mock drafts have you done? How many mock drafts have you done? And I know this might be a little bit of a homework assignment. Feel free to put your draft picks inside of the chat. You know, like maybe you want to put the first, 3 rounds in there, or you want to put all of the draft picks that you had from your mock draft. But yeah, I mean, it's fun doing these mock drafts, right? The endless possibilities, the fantasy booking, you know. For all my wrestling fans, y'all know what I'm talking about when I refer to fantasy booking. But yeah, man, it's fun to do those mock drafts, and for them to be able to use the technology in order to make things a little bit more simplistic for themselves, I think that's pretty cool, man. So yeah, I agree with old Mick on that one. I'm agreeing with Mick a lot on this episode, man. I don't know what's wrong here. What's going on here?
Sean Payton's involvement in the draft was pretty obvious, and then it seemed like Dennis Allen as well, and he had been here for so long in the collaborative. What was your philosophy, and what is your philosophy when you bring in Kellen Moore, as new to the organization, never been a head coach? Are you right away like, I want you to have as strong a voice in this as anyone? Is it more this year than last year? Like how
it was no different than when Sean first got with us, right? He was a new coach, and I want the coaches involved. I want them. I want to get their perspective, and if we have differences, between the personnel department and the coaching staff, we got to get those ironed out before we pick a player. Our goal is to all be on the same page in terms of the players that we bring in here, because that gives them and us the best chance for them to be successful, in my opinion.
When it comes to weighing things with what you all were able to accomplish in free agency, has that shifted anything with just like how you're evaluating some prospects? What maybe you be looking for more out of that, especially with the number 8 pick? I assume you want him to be a starter.
Yeah, I think it certainly affects us in terms of as we get later in the draft, you're trying to, fill slots on your roster. I don't think it impacts us so much at the top of the draft because, we're looking to take the best player that's available to us when we pick. But as I've said before, generally speaking, there's, when it's time to pick, you've got 2 or 3 guys that you're choosing from that are all in that same grade area. And then you look at your roster and say, hey, we need somebody at this position more than the other one. So it definitely impacts it. But it's not like the only impact.
I want to say this though. He mentioned Sean Payton, he mentioned Dennis Allen, and of course he mentioned Kellen Moore. I do think that the coaches have to play a role in the draft process, right? Although the general manager's job is to make sure that he gets the groceries, the ingredients in order for the coach to cook the meal, so to speak. I still think that you have to understand what the coach can cook with. Does that make sense? Like, you can't go out here and draft the same way that you draft with Dennis Allen or you draft with Sean Payton, because Sean Payton may be able to utilize a player in a certain way and utilize his skill set in a different way than what Kellen Moore can do or what Dennis Allen can do for a defensive player. I just look at, you think about Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator of the Saints. The Saints run a 3-4. That means that you got a little bit more of the smaller, down linemen / edge rushers, moving from side to side, probably a little bit smaller than what the New Orleans Saints normally would get, the 6'7", 260-pound defensive end with long wingspan, right? And if you look at the New Orleans Saints, like throughout the year last year, you start to see them kind of use like some of these quicker linebackers in certain situations. Like they were using Danny Stutzman, who was going sideline to sideline, or Jalen Ford, or Isaiah Stallbird. They were using these guys, on the field, and I just think that that's an indicator of what Brandon Staley would like the New Orleans Saints to do defensively. That's why, like when I was doing my drafts, I wasn't really looking at the guys that kind of resemble the same size and build as a Dennis Allen led team or a Sean Payton led team on offensively or defensively, because that's different philosophies right there. And like I said, the coach may be able to cook a really good meal, but he may not cook with the same ingredients, right? Like you might have some cayenne pepper that you like more so than maybe some basic cayenne pepper, right? Some people probably want to use some seasoning salt, and some people want to use some slap your mama. It's different. So I do think that you need to make sure that you incorporate what a coach likes to use, what they like to bring to the table, because you might be a little bit more explosive, and you may be holding yourself back by drafting a guy because he got long arms or something, when you can get yourself an edge rusher that can get underneath those offensive linemen and get to the quarterback, quite swiftly. So, yeah, I think that you definitely have to incorporate the coaching. Now, you got to come to, you got to come to an agreement. But, I do believe that you need to draft players based on who you brought in as your coach, offensively and defensively. So they definitely have to take that into consideration.
Going off of that,
Things that are kind of premium and non-premium positions, as people like to talk about all the times. Slot corner is usually defined as non-premium. Is that different for you all because of how Brandon Staley uses that position in his defense?
Good question, Rose.
Maybe a little bit. I wouldn't say it's significantly different, but maybe, but I'd say maybe a little different. Yes. I mean, you have to pay attention to the schemes you're running and what, your coaching staff values. And in terms of what they're trying to get accomplished. So yeah, it does have some impact.
Said the same thing.
You chat with Mansour Delane. You were there for his impressive pro day. What did you think of him, and what kind of addition do you think he would add to an NFL team?
Yeah, look, I don't want to get into a discussion about specific players, but look, I had a good talk with him. He's an impressive young man. I talked to him about some of the things that he was doing, in the off season, and look, he was great. He had great answers, and obviously a really good player. It's going to get taken high.
I went back to the draft philosophy now, due to what you did in free agency. The fact that you addressed so many needs, how much does that free you up to get best player available instead of just best player we need?
Yeah, I think I've said this in prior years. Our goal in the offseason is always to be in the position where we can take, particularly at the top of the draft, the best player available. And if we have to build a strength on our team, then that's okay. And so I think this year, probably as much as any year, we were able to do a few things that allows us to do that.
However, I guess historically in the league, you see trades up for quarterbacks, knowing that I assume there's a quarterback going 1, and then after that, talks may not be about quarterbacks. Has that been different for you all or other teams, or just historically what you've seen because people aren't moving up for the quarterback?
I don't know yet, because I think most of those calls start coming, today and tomorrow, before the draft, more so than prior to. Obviously, we've heard from some teams about teams that, hey, we might want to move back here. A few teams that might want to move up, not just in the first round, but in the second as well. It remains to be seen, how much of that activity occurs, but I wouldn't say it's a lot different than the past. But again, picking in the top 10 is a different thing than picking in the middle or back half of the round. So you get fewer calls when you're back there as opposed to when you're in the top 10.
How do you evaluate a prospect that might be dealing with an injury during the pre-draft process?
Yeah, I think that's difficult sometimes because you don't have as much information, so it creates more questions, right? But I think, at the combine, the medical people do a really good job of assessing injuries. So we have a pretty good handle on guys that are hurt and what their timelines are. But there may be some unanswered questions in terms of some of these measurables that we value.
Yeah. So I'm glad they asked that question because I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this reaction video, where Mickey Loomis, basically said there's a different standard when we're talking about picking someone and you have the 16th or the 17th pick. Maybe it was a guy that has the potential of being really good, probably has some hardships, when it comes to injury, right? Durability, questionable durability, right? You might take a gamble on that guy because if everything pans out, then, he might end up being a really good player. But when we're talking about the number 8 pick, like, you got to think about this, folks. Got to think about this. You're talking about a top 10 pick, right? We're talking about a guy who more than likely is going to be a day one starter. So do you want to take a gamble on that? Now, if you are the Rams, right? Now, the Rams are a team, okay, you made a trade with the Falcons, right? All right, you were messing around, you flirting with the Super Bowl. Now, if the Rams wanted to draft Jordan Tyson, I can kind of understand it. Like, I get that, because despite, what's going on off the field, you got Puka Nacua. I mean, you still got Devontae Adams, and you got a bunch of really talented offensive players around them. So if they wanted to take a gamble and draft Jordan Tyson, I mean, I can understand that. But we're talking about a team in the New Orleans Saints that have not sniffed the playoffs in 5 seasons, and it's trying to get themselves out of this pit of misery. So I don't believe that you should make that type of gamble. Now, it would be great. Like, if they was to draft Jordan Tyson, do I feel like he would be a really good player in the National Football League? Absolutely. I really do. But that's a hell of a gamble for a team that's picking 8. When you can get more of a sure thing, a guy that is durable, right? You know, like you can get that at number 8. And more than likely, he is going to give you instant results versus a guy that you believe is going to give you instant results. If he's healthy, he'll give you those instant results, but you're not sure how he'll be able to withstand the entire season. Jordan Tyson in 2022 tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL. It kept him out in 2023. Then he came back in 2024 and he broke his collarbone. 2025, he had a hamstring injury. Now he had 61 receptions, 711 yards, and 8 touchdowns in 2025. Hell of a resume. And if you watch the video of Jordan Tyson catching those passes, I mean, you're like Spice Adams coming from behind that tree rubbing your hands. But at the end of the day, that's a hell of a gamble for a guy that has been injured. Not just like he ain't been injured, he been hurt. That's a hell of a gamble. So like I said, if we're talking 18, 19, like some of them teams in the back, right? Like, you know, the ones that was in the playoffs, I can understand them taking that gamble because they're a lot further ahead than these teams picking in the top 10. So I have nothing against Jordan Tyson, but you better make damn sure that he is going to be able to hold up throughout the entire season and be able to give you that ROI, that return on investment. Because if not, we're going to be having some interesting conversations on a lot of these podcasts that cover the Saints.
A report that Nussmeier is going to spend the draft with his son until
that's it. That's if they draft him.
Yeah.
Is that a situation where he still kind of works from afar and call to get his opinion, or being the situation so rare, do you just kind of let him unplug and?
Yeah, no, listen, Doug's going to be available to us, and his input's valuable. We've gotten most of that. Look, all these questions that may come up in the draft are mostly answered. And so, I don't anticipate a lot of questions coming at, when we're on the clock or during the draft, but I know Doug will be available and we value his input.
What was it? Attention to division foes, what they're doing?
Not much, really. I mean, we note it, obviously, but we don't have any control over that. So, it is what it is, really.
How did the decision to let Doug send it with Derek kind of come about? Was it Kellen's idea, your idea? Like, how did they kind of...
I don't know. That's a good question. But look, I get that. I advise him to spend it with Garrett. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
How do you think the draft may impact with what you guys want to do with Alvin or a guy like Cam?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it could impact it. We'll see what happens. And that goes both ways. That may impact them from their perspective as well as ours. That it?
And that's the way it should be. I'm sorry for all those people out there that live in a world of nostalgia, but that's the way it should be. As much as I love myself some Cam Jordan, as much as I love myself some AK, you got to be able to look towards the future. And look, I understand how Cam Jordan feels. You give your heart, your soul to an organization, and you feel like you still got something left in the tank at 10.5 sacks, and you still out there on the street. You feel like you should get a little bit more of a courtship from other teams. But the New Orleans Saints are a team that is trying to figure out what life is outside of the status quo. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. And if you were asking my opinion, you shouldn't have an issue with that. And look, the wheels are going to keep on turning. Like, the New Orleans Saints are going to be open for business way longer than those players are going to be in the National Football League. But when you look at Cam Jordan, who's going to be 37 at the start of the season, You know, like you look at Alvin Kamara going to be what, 31 at the start of the season? You got to look towards the future, man. If you go into the draft and you got Mike Washington Jr. out of Arkansas there, and you pick him in the 3rd round, and that guy is explosive, and I'm not just talking about from the combine. Like, people want to talk about the 40, like, bump that, go and watch the film. This guy is getting separation for some of the top SEC players in it. Like, these are the top players in the entire country, and this guy's separating from them. So if the Saints can get somebody like that, you grab them. If the Saints can get somebody that can give you double-digit sacks, maybe in a later round, like a Nadame Tucker out of Western Michigan, who had 14 and a half sacks. Like, you look towards the future. And let's just say maybe everything didn't pan out the way that you wanted, and you can give Cam Jordan a call, bring him back for a 1-year deal. If he's open to that, right? Then you do that. But we all know that Cam Jordan more than likely is going to sign with a team after the draft, because teams are trying to figure out, are they going to get the positions that they need filled? And if they don't, then we'll give Cam Jordan a call. The New Orleans Saints pretty much told you everything that they needed to tell you without actually saying it aloud. This is Travis Etienne's team now at the running back position. Is there a place for Alvin? Absolutely. But the New Orleans Saints aren't looking at Alvin to be their feature back anymore. Alvin Kamara has missed a lot of games over the last few years. And it's not the fact that he can't play anymore. I hear this big debate about, oh, man, can Alvin still play, man? Alvin washed. Alvin isn't washed. Alvin isn't washed to a point where if you were to give him a better offensive line, he wouldn't make an impact. Matter of fact, if Alvin went to a team with a better offensive line, some Saints fans would be upset that the Saints let him go. But you have to make sure that you are getting younger, you're getting more explosive, because these other teams are not going to feel sorry for you because you allow these mainstays to stay around because you love them and they're part of your family. They don't care about that. If they can get themselves a running back that can go around your defensive end, or, they can get themselves a defensive tackle that can knock the snot bubble, out of a running back like AK, they do not care. I want people to understand that nostalgia can be a great thing, right? Ain't nothing like, people love a good reboot, right? Oh man, I ain't seen that in a long time. Everybody loves themselves some nostalgia, right? Everybody love it, man. I'm a big wrestling fan. Big wrestling fan. I was watching Monday Night Raw on Monday night. I promise I'm going somewhere with this. And out comes, for a match versus a guy named JD McDonough, original Finn Balor. Finn Balor come out there with the tights on and, putting his hands in the air when a beat drop. Like, clean shaven, looking like classic Finn Balor. Like, that was like, oh, man, I watched that clip like 2 or 3 more times because I love myself some classic Finn Balor, some nostalgia. But at the end of the day, man, like, you got to move on to the next thing. Who's everybody talking about? They ain't talking about Finn Balor. They talking about Obafemi. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go watch wrestling, all right? If you ain't watch WrestleMania, look, it is what it is. But all I'm saying is you got to move on, and you got to get younger, and you got to find ways to make your team more explosive than what they actually are. And you got to, just appreciate the time that you had with those players and appreciate their services, and not just use them like chewed up bubble gum that lost their flavor. But football is a business. And that is the harsh reality that a lot of fans sometimes don't want to accept. It's not personal. It's business, ladies and gentlemen.
Short and quick. Yeah, I don't, want to get into any of that right now. We'll do that after the draft. We got a lot of questions that we got to get answered over the next few days relative to our roster, and then we'll go from there.
I was going to ask about Cam Jordan and Taysom Hill. Has there been any resolution, or they fall in after the draft? Yeah,
look, those are two-way questions, right? They have things that they have to determine, and we do too. So we'll see what happens after the draft.
You said in the first round, you got 2 or 3 guys with the same kind of grade. As
Yeah.
the draft goes on, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, is that bullpen of players grow a little bit?
Yeah, I think. Well, you hope it does. I mean, when we get to the 5th and 6th round, I'm hoping that we have 4 or 5 guys that we can choose from But sometimes, you know, you get down there and there's one guy that stands out above all the rest. But you're hoping that you have 4 or 5, because then, you know, the holes that you have on your roster come into play.
So what do you think last year's success with the draft? I mean, it was like one of the rare years you didn't trade at all. I mean, was it just having more picks the merrier? Like, or was there something about the process that
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we made some trades in 06, and that was a pretty good draft. And I don't remember if we made trades in 17 or not, but that was a good draft too. So,
come on, man. You made a trade in 17, because that's how you got Alvin Kamara. Stop it, Mick. Now you just up here trying to grandstand hot dog here. But look, here's the thing. Look, you don't need to trade and go up and go down if you trust the process. And to answer his question, he may not want to do it, but I will. The reason why the New Orleans Saints were able to find success in 2025 is because, excuse my French, everybody was on their ass. Everybody was on their ass. Fans were selling tickets. People was like, boycott the dome. People was talking about, man, this team is unwatchable. Man, I'm about to go cut my grass. People out here like talking about they need to fire this guy, fire that guy. Like Dennis Allen got fired midway through the season. This is the reason why. Bruh, if you care about what you're doing, if you care about the process, you are going to pay attention. What did I do to F this thing up? If it's anything in life, relationships, jobs, like just sports, whatever you're doing, if you care at all, you're going to be like, man, I don't want to deal with that anymore. I don't want to deal with that. So guess what? You're going to be locked in, dialed the hell in. Man, I ain't trying to hear these people mouth. Let me go ahead and handle my business, man, because I don't want to hear nobody mouth. Let me go ahead and take the trash out, man, because I ain't trying to hear my wife talk about I ain't take the trash out. I'm telling on myself right now. She wanted me to take the trash out before the show. But all I'm saying is, you get what I'm saying? Like, if you care, like if you really truly care, you're gonna be dialed in. And this team got tired. Like, man, look, bro, we gotta do something here. We gotta do something. So they tapped in. They were dialed in. They was dialed the freak in. And when you're dialed in, when you feel the pressures of life, like that, they seem like they just big boulders about to crash down on you, you have no choice but to rise to the occasion, right? It's rather sink or swim. So that's the reason why. Oh, it's not like, oh, yeah, like, oh man, just all of a sudden, like, okay, we just got it together. No, you probably had the ability to do that, but call it for what it was. The New Orleans Saints front office fell asleep at the freaking wheel. All the success that they had throughout the decade and a half, Sean Payton and Drew Brees, they felt like that gave them enough equity among the fan base in order for them to F up. And people like understand that, but hell to the no. When you find success, ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to go back down to the valley. You want to maintain where you're at or elevate from that particular state. Plain and simple. Don't nobody want to look, man. If I'm living in the suburbs, if you know what I'm saying, if I done bought a house and you know where I came from, I ain't had a pot to pee in or window to throw it out of. I don't want to go back to that shack. I want some prosperity. So Saints fans smelt the prosperity. They know what it tastes like. They didn't want to go back to the original days where you was wearing bags on your head and was embarrassed to wear a Saints starter jacket. They woke the hell up. They fell asleep at the wheel. It is what it is. But it's good that they woke up because I think that the shows are better. I think that the energy among the Who Dat Nation is better. Don't nobody want to bash the team that they love. Don't nobody want to sit up here and be like, I guess I'll just watch these boys today, see what they're going to do. No. People want a really gratifying experience if they love something. They want it to love them back. And if it's not loving them the way that they want to be loved, then guess what? We got to find a way to get that love back. I want that old thing back. So, yeah, you fell asleep at the wheel, but hey, man, good that y'all woke up. A lot of Unison was being used on airline, but everybody seemed like they woke up. Let's hope that momentum continues.
Did this before, man. If we love somebody and we feel like it's necessary to make a move, then we're going to do that.
What do you think of the receiver depth in this draft this year?
Yeah, look, I think it's good. It's what I said before. There's going to be good players in this draft, no matter what you think about that depth. And it's up to us to get them identified, and then hopefully, we have the opportunity to take those guys. But I do think there's a lot of good receivers in this draft.
Oh yeah, a lot.
I touched on this a little bit earlier, but are you ever able to kind of get a sense before the draft that there is going to be a lot of moving pieces, trades being made, et cetera? Like, does that ever kind of play out the way you envision it doing, or?
I don't know that I would say it that way. I think there's times when, yeah, it's a good question, but I don't really think of it in those terms. I'm more focused on what we're doing, not what everyone else is doing. And I think the higher up you get, the more you're focused on what you're doing, not what everyone else is doing. And if an opportunity comes up, then we look at it, regardless of whether that's an opportunity to move up or move down. And then we'll make an assessment that makes sense for us or not.
Those conversations typically start happening about 9.
Yeah, they're going to happen over the next couple, today and tomorrow before the draft. You're going to get a real sense. And we already have, a couple of teams that we've talked to that, more than a couple actually, that have, and really those conversations are just simply, hey, we'd like to move down or we want to move up. And then we'll have a discussion in the next 24 hours about, okay, what's the cost of that, or what's, what are we getting for that? And then you have, you kind of make this call in your mind about, yeah, I do that for that. And then we wait and see what's available, when we're on the clock.
Yeah, that was going to be.
It's there's a lot of moving parts in here.
So it's sometimes contingent on like, okay, if this happens, and we're re-engaging this conversation.
I think it's almost always contingent upon, because you're not trading up for the spot, you're trading up for a player. And so it's always, okay, is the player available?
What's your read on the top 7 picks in this first year in this draft? Do you think there's like 6 guys that'll go in the top 7, or do you think this is one of those draft classes where?
Who's the top 7?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do you feel like there's a consensus there, or do you think, are your scenarios like it could be pretty random in that group this year, based on what teams do in front of you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I certainly don't think that all 32 teams have the same 7 guys listed from 1 to 7. And I don't know what the other teams are, what their lists look like. I know what our list looks like. So I don't really pay attention to that much. It's a good question. I don't have enough information to answer it really.
I know you joked about never having traded back, always traded up, and you joke about there could be.
I've traded back
in the first round. Sorry, in the first round. In the first round.
Yeah.
Like
All right. All right. I'll go with that.
But just hypothetically.
Can't deny the facts.
Sorry, hypothetically, would it be like our cloud of players, things happened and they're not there, or the offer's just so amazing?
Yeah, it'd be either or.
Okay.
It'd be, the scenarios would be, okay, we're at pick 8 and we've got 4 guys that we love. And so we could go back to as far as 12. If there's 2 that we love, then we could only go back, 2 spots, right? Or someone comes in and says, we'll give you 3 first-round picks to move. Oh, yeah. May have to do that, right? So it's either or. But I'm not someone that just wants to trade just to have a transaction. It's got to be really specific as to what we're getting. And some of that, by the way, comes into play about who are you trading with and what's their likelihood that pick is going to be late the next year versus earlier. And so all that comes into play.
Yeah, that's a good thought pattern right there. Yeah, I mean, if you up here trying to trade with the Chiefs, right? They just say like, oh man, they just say that they just in love with Jeremiah Love. He just so happened to slip, and maybe the Saints feel like, okay, we can do without him, right? Yeah, like, okay, man, we'll give you a first round pick next year. Well, where's the likelihood that the Chiefs are picking at 9 again? Probably slim to none. Like they probably gonna be picking 24, 25. Like they're gonna find themselves back in a playoff picture. So yeah, I understand what he's saying right there. But also, like, if you are in love with a player, well, I feel like you need to like stay put. Like you said you got 4 players that you can't do. Like if you love them, then that means you can't do without them. And if you love 4 players, there's one of those players that you love more than the other 3. So yeah, I mean, that's a tough decision to make, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world if the New Orleans Saints were to trade back. It's not the end of the world. Like, let's just say if they was in love with Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate goes to the Commanders or goes to the Browns or something. Like, it's all right. It's cool. You know, like, okay, maybe they just feel like, oh, man, that was our guy. Somebody call up. Maybe, Cowboy won't move up or something like that. You got to make the best decision, based on that. If you can get yourself like, Vega, from Penn State, in the, at 12 or something like that, like, hell yeah. Like you still got a position of need and you got yourself a really good player. So yeah, you got to do your homework.
When we're, making that assessment.
Yeah, that's what I was going to follow up with. How much do the, say, trade terms change from year to year? In other words, hypothetically, we're going to trade up to number 3 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you look at past years and what that costs, or can it change every year according to what the draft is?
That's a good question. I think history is a really valuable tool for us, right? So we've got the history of trades, and I pour over that. We have guys that pour over it. And then we have these point charts, right? Which I think the good thing is almost all the teams use these point charts now to value. At least that's the starting point. Which we always aren't. That's the starting point. And then you look at, what historically has it taken? And then it becomes a matter of market, right? Some years there's a lot of teams that want to move back and not very many want to move up. And so that's an advantage for the team moving up because, the markets dictates a better cost.
Mickey, you said sometimes you consider if you're trading with another team for a future pick, where you think they're going to be drafting next year.
Yeah.
If you trade your pick next year, what pick will that be in your mind?
Yeah, that's a good question. You're not going to trap me on that one. 32. I think it's going to be pick 32.
So you're going to
I'm going to go with that.
Trading pick 32.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
When you're talking about being risk adverse earlier, does that like change how you feel about potentially trading into the top 5? That cost to get a premium type of pick?
No, I mean, if you're trading into pick 5, that's, you're not looking for risk. You're looking for the sure thing, right? So I guess in that sense, yeah, maybe a little bit, but I like the spot we're in. I know we're going to get a good player. So I can't really answer that till.
Was it Deion Jordan that year that trade up? Actually, that was Jeff. Like, was that
Yeah.
the cheapest it's ever been? Was that year an extreme outlier, or have there been others where?
Well, it's funny. We've talked about this a little bit because when I was in Seattle, Randy, we had pick 10 and 11, and we ended up with pick 3 and 6, and the cost for those total moves were really good relative to today's prices. And, we ended up drafting Sean Springs and Walter Jones with those 2 picks, and that was a pretty good deal. Really good deal.
Has it?
But, it's different now. The cost is higher, generally speaking.
Has that that risk averse philosophy changed over the years based on like players that may or may not have worked out, or is it, as we were saying earlier, more based on like picking higher or lower?
I think we're always affected by, what we've done in the past, and I got a long past. So, I think it definitely affects you. We relate to, a lot of what we do is comparison, right? This player compared to that player, this deal compared to, a deal that we've done in the past. And so, those ones that didn't work out definitely affect, our thinking to some degree.
Can you just talking about that a little bit when you talk about your history? I'm sure.
All right, so they pretty much wrapping it up here, folks. I mean, look, I think they pretty much just trying to, figure out what his thought pattern is about moving up, moving down. I think we pretty much got the idea here, but that's Saints general manager Mickey Loomis speaking to the media pre-draft, day before the draft. And this is an exciting time, ladies and gentlemen. It's an exciting time. It's always fun because, the draft, it represents change. It represents change. It represents a new beginning. And despite what your team looked like, no matter if they were the worst team in the league, fan bases feel like, this one player can come in and change the misfortunes of a franchise, right? It all starts at the draft in some cases. But, regardless to what the New Orleans Saints do with the number 8 pick, rather they stay at 8, move up, move down, they're going to get themselves a really good football player. And that's all you can really ask for. And the Saints are in a prime position to get a really good player. And I'm pretty sure that they manipulated the board quite a few times and, moved players up and down and, did what they needed to do in order for them to be ready for every scenario. I mean, Mickey Loomis has been doing it for a long time. Jeff Ireland has been doing it for a long time. So they're going to get themselves a really good player. So I don't think a Saints fan would get too upset about whoever they pick at number 8. But I mean, of course, you're going to have some Saints fans upset regardless. That just comes with the territory. But you're tuned into the Straight Up TJ Podcast. I am TJ Jones. And right now we're going to go ahead and see what the chat has to say. See what you all are talking about inside of the chat. I'll go ahead and stroll up and stop right here and start with Eric. Eric says, sounds like they did their homework, Downs or Bain, with the pick. Look, it's whoever they feel will give the team the best chance to win and the best player on their board at number 8, the New Orleans Saints will pick. And rather it's Ruben Bain or Caleb Downs, it's going to be a really good pick. Both of those two gentlemen are going to be a really good, impactful player for any team that they get selected to. Cam will go down as the greatest defensive end in franchise history, but getting younger is the goal. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not personal. And, man, Cam understands the business aspect of it. I'm pretty sure, you be around the league for a long time. You've seen guys come and go. It's just your turn. And, he'll land somewhere. Hopefully it's back with the Saints. It's not the longer he's out there, the more I feel like he'll more than likely come back to the Saints. I just think that they're kind of weighing out their options and, they want to see what's best for them when it comes to their future because, Cam Jordan has more games behind him than ahead of him. And, the New Orleans Saints have to consider that. So they're trying to get better and they're trying to get younger. And sometimes, some feelings get hurt in the process. Time to retire for Cam Jordan, but it's time to looking for a future on our team for sure. Yeah, I don't think it's time for Cam Jordan to retire, but it's definitely time for the New Orleans Saints to consider seriously looking at the future, without him and what that would actually look like. Now, and once again, I'm not saying that he may not come back to the Saints. He may come back to the Saints, but his role will change, if he was to come back. That's right. The Saints can draft some youngster this year on the defense in the 2026 draft. Yep, they can draft one on defense or they can draft somebody on offense, but I'm pretty sure they're going to draft some players on both sides of the football to help them get better, I hope. I think with the left side of this line being solidified, Alvin would still be very impactful. Yeah, I think he'll be very impactful, but look, man, you got to get younger. Like, look, we cannot sit up here and be trying to find ways to keep our favorite players around when we look at the NFL constantly changing, right? I mean, teams are trying to find ways to get younger, get explosive, and you're not trying to just win for 2026. You're trying to win for 2026 and beyond. So how do you do that? For you not to be in the same type of situation that you've been in over the last 5 seasons. Just like I mentioned with Cam Jordan. Alvin Kamara has way more games behind him than ahead of him. You have to consider that. Like, do I feel like Alvin Kamara with a better offensive line will find success? Absolutely. But you don't go into 2026 with a guy who is going to be 31 years old that has been injured and nicked up consistently and just say, okay, man, with a better offensive line, here you go. Well, you still got a chance of getting hurt. Like some of the best offensive line in the game. You have good running backs running behind them, but the running backs still get hurt. That just comes with the territory. You still are getting tackled, right? I mean, offensive line not going to open up lanes for you every single time. That one hit can cost you a couple of weeks. So the Saints have to consider that. You only can go by what you're actually seeing, folks. And if we're being realistic about it, Alvin Kamara has been hurt, and you have to compensate for that in some way. Now, you can't just look at, oh, well, we fixed the offensive line. We ain't got to worry about Alvin anymore. In a perfect world, yeah, but got to get better. Got to get better. You got to make the players on your team that are worth something in the trade market. Right now, we got nobody a team will trade for, excluding the new young cats. Yeah, I mean, right now you got to make your team a little bit more appetizing. I mean, there's a few guys on the team I feel like teams would trade for, like Chris Olave or, maybe a Kool-Aid McKinstry, or even, talks when it comes to Spencer Rattler. So I think that they have guys on the team, but I get what you're talking about. You're talking about blockbuster deals, right? They ain't got no blockbusters. Maybe Chris Olave would be considered a blockbuster after the season that he had, over 100 catches, 9 touchdowns. I mean, so 1,100 yards. So yeah, that would be a blockbuster trade. But other than that, I agree with you. Let's see. Oh, but I thought he said you don't draft for needs in the first few rounds and take the best available. Talking out of his R's. Yeah, man. Look, you're supposed to draft for needs. That's important, right? But let's just say, for example, you need something, but it ain't worth you picking in number 8. Like if the New Orleans Saints need a wide receiver, like a lot of Saints fans, the general consensus says that they do. If there's not a player that you trust or a player that you have a higher grade on than somebody that maybe doesn't play that position, like you don't try to make it work, right? You go with the guy that will give you instant success, especially at number 8. So yeah, I think it kind of go 2 ways. Like, yeah, you draft the best available, if you already got a position solidified and that player right there is available to you, right? But if it's a position of need and that's the best player available, then guess what, man? You run to the podium and get that guy. TJ, I tagged all my Saints Facebook friends. I appreciate that, Jules. I appreciate that, man. Let's see. What are you going to be doing during the draft, TJ? I'm gonna be right here live on the Straight Up TJ podcast, and we're gonna have it become a yearly tradition. We're gonna have our draft reaction show. That's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna watch the entire first round of the NFL draft, and we're gonna be, having a good time doing it. So if you're not doing anything tomorrow, you're looking for a place that you can slide through. Come on through, man. Enjoy the festivities. Enjoy as we break down and watch the first round of the 2026 NFL draft right here on this channel. TJ, they don't remember the starter jackets. No, they don't. I mean, it was an embarrassment to wear a Saints starter jacket in New Orleans. I mean, it was people will rib you out of school, man. Like, for real. Like, man, you got that Saints start on? It was embarrassing. Nobody want to go back to those days, man. Nobody want to go back to the poverty days. Denzel Boston or Chris Brazil. We need either one of those guys. Yeah, I mean, look, Denzel Boston really talented guy, kind of lost his luster down the stretch. Chris Brazzell, he's a guy that is really come alive, 50-50 ball getter, a guy that can be a down the field threat, definitely a red zone threat. But both of those guys are good, but third round at best, in my opinion. I mean, based on what I've seen, third round at best. I mean, if we're talking about Brazzell, we're talking about a guy that's kind of a specialist at this point. Like throw the ball up and watch what he do with it. But you still got to be able to do more than that in the NFL. So if they get him in the second round, they must have seen something from his pro day or something that he probably said that won them over. But me personally, I think that he's more of a late second round, early third round pick. Billy, he did hire Kellen after how many coaches said no? Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, you might end up finding a coach that you need by others saying no. I mean, the Saints got Sean Payton because Mike McCarthy said no. So sometimes, somebody's, no can be another person's yes, and that can be the yes that catapults you to where you need to go. So it's not always a bad thing. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. We can't just we can't just rest on that, right? I mean, who would want to come to the Saints? It wasn't an attractive spot. But, if you get the right guy to take a chance on the team and it ended up being the right guy, who cares? It's kind of like with the draft. Like, who cares what you give up if you find a home run hitter? Who cares? Who cares how you got to that point if Kellen Moore ends up working out? Like, nobody knew who the hell Mike McDonald was, but you know who he is now. Like, you probably thought Mike McDonald was the guy who was what, saying, I can't forget. That's who you probably thought Mike McDonald was, right? Things would never be the same again. But look at Mike McDonald, head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, got them boys winning a Super Bowl. So who cares? Like, who cares how you got to that point? As long as you winning, nobody cares how you got there. TJ, what is the name of the group who does the song for you on this podcast? To be honest with you, man, I outsourced for that. Like, I was on this, what's the name of this app? I can't remember. I'll put it in the comments after the end of the show. But I mean, when I'm at the radio station, we do a lot of outsourcing. Like, if I need to get different voices, we'll probably outsource for it. And I was outsourcing, trying to find a group, to do a song. And it was a couple groups that I reached out to, and it was this guy, his name was Jay Luke. He's out of California. And shouts out to him, making a song. I don't think he a professional rapper or anything like that. Just, man, what's the name of that? I'm gonna put it inside of the comments when the show is over. But you basically kind of outsource for it. Like, when you need stuff when I wrote a children's book, I outsource for illustrators. When I need different things read, like commercials and stuff like that, and I don't want to keep on using the same people. I don't want to record over and over again at the radio station. You kind of outsource for that. So, at the end of the day, pretty cool stuff. Bell has injury concerns. He will still have to prove he's the same player after the ACL. Yeah, I mean, you have to. And that's one of those situations. That's one of them situations that you have to take into consideration. That is Mike McDonald. Yeah, I mean, Mike McDonald, right? But that's not the Mike McDonald you also said AI. Hell, maybe. I don't know, but that's a bomb-ass song. But I'm telling you, it's an app that you can use. You can outsource for different things. I don't know what he used, but at the end of the day, I paid him. And the song a banger, so I don't know. I ain't asking no questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, shoot, I was just like, okay, thank you. Really do appreciate it. End up just, making sure I did the copyright work and all that kind of stuff so the song can belong to me, and kept it moving. That's basically it. So I don't know what they use, to be honest with you. I'm so confused because we need so much for this team. But it's a lot better than what it was. It's a lot better than what it was like a couple of years before. TJ, WrestleMania will be in Nashville in 2027 at the new Titan Stadium instead of Saudi Arabia. Thank freaking God. That's great. That's great to hear right there. But the ticket's still going to be $1.5 million. So who cares? I mean, I got a lot to say when it comes to like the whole wrestling thing. You know, I got a lot to say when it comes to that. When it comes to TKO and Endeavor and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I see what they're trying to do, and it's pretty doggone sad, man. False, he's ahead of schedule and is projected to be ready by training camp. He just posted a video today running 18 plus miles per hour on a treadmill. Look, I'm happy for the kid. I hope that it works out for him. If he does, if he ends up like being on the Saints, I think that he'll be a good addition. Hey, TJ, who's the top offensive guard in the draft? Vega. Iannoli, I believe that's his name, Iannoli. I apologize if I ain't pronounced his name correctly. But yeah, he's a guard out of Penn State. Let's see. Doobie Brothers fam, Mike McDonald, he keeps you running. Yeah, Doobie Brothers, okay. Mike McDonald. TJ, got it. I know he rich. Man, boy. I wish. But I can't say that, man. Like people say, man, if I was rich, I wouldn't be doing it. Yes, I would. I would. Yes, I would. I'll still be doing this if I was rich. TJ, I won't lie. I did like 145 in the mock draft. I fixed the Saints trade back, baby. You did. Yeah, Grandizer. But look, I think this is a good time for me to just let everybody know what my final draft mock draft was. I'm gonna go ahead and let me pull up on X. I posted it on my X page. And if you don't follow me, please do so. You can follow me at TJAY Jones 8. That's TJAY Jones 8 on X. And what I did was, I just did my final mock draft. Right? I did my final mock draft, and I basically just kind of like thought about what the New Orleans Saints would actually need. What would they need in this draft, right? I mean, you addressed a lot of like key positions, in the draft, which is great, which is absolutely great that you were able to do that. And so that gives you like wiggle room in order for you to be able to do some other things. All right. So go ahead and pull this up on the screen here. If you don't see me, hopefully you can still hear me. But yeah, this is, a couple of top picks. I had Mansour Delane being a Saints number 8 pick, cornerback out of LSU. Despite what people may think, no, it's not because he went to LSU. Look, I'm a realist, right? If you good and you went to LSU, fine. I feel like a player is better than a player from LSU, then guess what? This mock draft will look completely different. Mansour Delane is a guy that can be a lockdown corner for you. He's a short tackler. He's a guy that's going to be a day one starter, and to me, can be a lockdown corner for any team. In the second round, I got Chris Bell, the wide receiver out of Louisville. I had him because I just feel like he's a guy who is a really good possession receiver. He's a guy that can win those 50-50 balls, and also he can give you that yak, those yards after the catch, which I feel like have been eluding the Saints since Mike T has left the team. In the third round, I have Mike Washington Jr. with the 73rd pick. I mentioned him, the running back out of Arkansas. I think that you align him with Travis Etienne. And also listening to Mickey Loomis, talk about maybe the way that they draft can change the trajectory of the future of Alvin Kamara or a Cam Jordan. So have to take that into consideration. And also in the fourth round, I have the New Orleans Saints taking a Dane Tucker, the edge out of Western Michigan. Now, some of you may not know who this is, but this is a guy who has a really high motor. He's a guy who had 14 and a half sacks this past season, and a guy that I feel like it can be a part of the New Orleans Saints rotation and maybe give you some sacks and maybe end up being a really good player for you. I have Jalen Farmer, the interior offensive lineman out of Kentucky, a guy that is rising on draft boards. I would actually be shocked if he's there at 136 for the Saints, based on the talk about Farmer. But he's a super athletic guy, and this is a guy I feel like that can come in and push Cesar Ruiz if you're trying to keep him around and you want him to earn his. All right, at 150, I got Harold Perkins. Some people are talking about Harold Perkins' football knowledge and, can he play the position and how he's, not able to process things. I'm not buying that, man. I think that Harold Perkins is a guy that in the right situation is going to flash, and I think that he's going to be a really good player for someone. He's probably going to have to earn it based on some of the injuries that have happened and some of the talk, but I think when he gets on the field, he's going to show everybody that he is a one-talent son of a gun. Then I got Tanner Kozel, the tight end out of Houston. Big guy, about 6'6", 6'7". He's a guy that can come in, be a red zone threat to you. You already got Noah Fant. You got Juwan Johnson. You also, have Monteval, who you drafted in the 7th round last year. But Tanner can come in, be a big physical tight end for you, and you also help out in the blocking game when it comes to the run. So I have the New Orleans Saints taking him. And then also finally, I have the Saints taking at pick number 190, Hezekiah Massis. Now, this is a guy who at the beginning of the draft process, a lot of people had him being a pretty high draft pick, but there were some things that happened, transpired, but I still think that he can be a really good player for you. He has a really good wingspan, probably can be a guy that you can put in the slot, to go alongside, someone else, that you can have in that rotation. But I think that he has the right makeup to be a really good physical slot corner for you. He's not afraid to tackle. There's some things about his game he needs to work on, which is the reason why I feel like he's going to drop in the draft. But I think that he will be a really good addition to the Saints with the right defensive coordinator and Brandon Staley and the right defensive coaches around him to be able to push out that potential. But that's my mock draft, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I feel like the New Orleans Saints, could do to make their team better. Of course, I mean, it's just a mock draft, man. I don't know what they're going to do at the end of the day. But all I know is they just need to bring in some guys that can make an impact and try to find the best players and not just look for guys that can be special teams guys running down the field. That's great to have, of course, but you want some guys that's going to be able to contribute and get some players in here that can help you get back to making a postseason. TJ, I kid you not, I have a near identical mock to yours. People are sleeping on Harold Perkins, and I like Jacob Rodriguez too. Yeah, I like Jacob Rodriguez as well, man, the linebacker out of Texas Tech, but I think he's probably going to be picked high because of his energy and his ability to not be afraid to get, to make those tackles, man. Big physical guy, probably going to end up being a captain on a team. Everybody that talks about him talks about how much of a leader he is, and he's a guy that's not going to quit on a team. I can tell you that right now. Says, I don't agree on 42 and 73 positions. Don't think it's a need, my opinion. Well, I mean, look, who that's fine. It's not so much about just, positions of need. You know what I'm saying? To me, it's like, okay, what, how are you trying to get better? I'll just tell you why, and I'm not trying to change your mind here. You're entitled to your opinion. But I picked that number 42. I picked Chris Bell because I feel like the Saints are missing that yards after the catch type guy, right? I'm thinking that they're missing that type of player, a guy that can catch the ball and make somebody miss and maybe, shred off a tackle or something like that. It just usually like the Saints, quarterbacks throw the ball to the wide receivers, they catch the ball and then they go down, right? No yak, and I just think that the Saints need to change that. You got to be able to have a guy that can be physical enough to be able to go across the middle sometimes and be physical enough to put that stiff arm out and knock away that cornerback and get, 10 or 15 extra yards. And he kind of checks those boxes. When you look at guys like Chris Brazzell or, some of these other guys, they're looking to get behind a defender and, win those 50-50 balls. But sometimes those guys in the secondary are pretty wily. They're not going to let you get behind them if they know what you can do. So you got to find more sophisticated ways in order to get open and make things happen. But that was the reason why I picked, Chris Bell at 42. And 73, I picked Mike Washington Jr. because I think there's a possibility that this guy can end up being the best running back in this draft. Like, I know Jeremiah Love is in the draft, but I just think that people are sleeping on Mike Washington. I just think that when you look at the film and you're looking at a running back, coming out of Arkansas, Arkansas wasn't the best team in the world last season, but you see him against some stiff SEC competition, and he's running away from some of the top players in the entire country. And I don't think that you just should look past that, right? That's an important. The Saints need a home run hitter. They need somebody that is physical, somebody that is going to break a tackle. He is a guy that can do that for you. He's about 222 or 225 pounds, and he's running a 4.2. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that. So that's the reason why. It's not a position of need, but we're talking about guys that can come in and help this team be impactful. So it's not so much of a position of need. Yeah, I agree with you when it comes to, like, especially 73 with Mike Washington. But if you can get a guy up in here that can make a play and make somebody miss, I think that is a position of need, right? That's a player of need, right? Any player that can do something and possess a skill set that you've been lacking, I think is an important player. They're impactful because they're carving out a niche for themselves, number one. And number two, that niche is helping you find success in areas that you lacked over the last couple of years. But look, I agree with what you're talking about. I can understand maybe want to go in a different direction, maybe another player. But, that was my thought pattern behind me doing the draft. It wasn't so much about, this guy, was with Tyler Shuck, or this guy ran a 4.2. No, it's about looking at what the New Orleans Saints have needed when it comes to certain players and what they can bring to the table. I think that's important. Let's see. Harold Perkins is a good young linebacker player at 150, just like they going to release Street Fighter 6. Downloaded character, new character. Was it Ingrid at the end of the month and next month on the 28th for sure, TJ. Well, look, I'm pretty sure you're looking forward to that. I'm pretty sure you're looking forward to that, man. But yeah, man, I ain't played Street Fighter in so long. I don't know who Ingrid is. I mean, I'm like Street Fighter 2, maybe Street Fighter 3. You know what I'm saying? When did Akuma come out? Like when Akuma first showed up, that's like I stopped with Street Fighter. TJ speaking sense. Well, look, man, I appreciate it, and I think who they're saying. I mean, it's valid. I think it makes sense, but I was just trying to express my thought pattern because I mean. I don't think it's a right or wrong because I'm pretty sure every mock draft that everybody has done, there was some careful thought about it. And it's not just, oh, wow, this guy jump high. He run fast. Well, if you're doing that, you might want to throw your mock draft in the trash. But I like to think that we have a lot of sophisticated, really cerebral Saints fans in this community and among the Who Dat Nation. So when they put these mock drafts out, I want to believe that everybody really took that and put it into consideration. Let's see. I like Washington in the third. Yeah, I like him, man. I think that he's very underrated. I think he's very underrated. It says I might be the only fan that likes the wide receiver room and running back room. I would fix my right guard situation. I mean, look. Who that? And he said Street Fighter Alpha 3. Okay, there we go. But yeah, that's when I stopped. But look, I don't have an issue with the wide receiver room. I already said that. But you're always looking to upgrade. Like you don't want to just be okay with just being okay, right? It goes back to what I was saying, who that? If you are, living in the burbs, right? I mean, and where you come from, right? I mean, may not be the suburbs, may have been, in substandard conditions. Hopefully that's not the case, but we're just using this as an example. And, you get to that particular point, you don't want to go back down, right? You want to elevate. So even if something isn't wrong with being in the suburbs, like the next move you want to make is you want to move into a better situation than even the suburbs gave you, right? You want to move into a better house with more rooms. Like that's just the way that it goes. There's nothing wrong with the wide receiver room, in your opinion. Yeah, there's some solid wide receivers that can get the job done with reps and chemistry. But you don't want to just go into the season and like, okay, man, we good. You're always looking to elevate. So if you're looking at a wide receiver that can come in, you got a bunch of guys that can catch the ball, but not providing yards after the catch. You got a bunch of guys, but when you get into the red zone, it continues to stall. But you can bring in somebody that, okay, throw this ball up in the air, let him catch it. Or, like you can throw a guy a wide receiver screen and he can just batter ram his way to the end zone for a touchdown like a Deebo Samuel or something. That's what you want. Like you're always looking to elevate the situation. Like you're always looking for upgrades. Like, I don't know. Like some people just, man, these white walls are cool, right? Man, the ceiling is great. Like, man, I don't need to change out this light socket. I'm great, right? But in other ways, you looking around like, man, I can do something with these bland white walls, right? I can maybe put a little paint on them. Like you're always looking to upgrade and elevate yourself, man. You don't want to stay stagnant. And, like I said, man, I like Jalen Pope. I like him. I like that he's getting a fresh start. I like Trey Palmer. I think that he just kind of got lost in the shuffle in Tampa. I like Chris Olave, and I like Devon Vele. But at the end of the day, you're always trying to look for players that can actually bring something different to the table and try to elevate your room where it's not as difficult, right? If somebody was to go down, somebody can pick up the slack and you still can be a dynamic offense and you're not concerned about when X, Y, and Z coming back. I'm going to take one more and then I'll go ahead and get up out of here. Let's say they won. That won't happen if you can't get the ball off. I agree. Look, man, you preach to the choir when it comes to Cesar Ruiz. Like I did a whole show about that. I don't know if you checked it out, who that records, but yeah, I did a whole show about that. I mentioned that the Saints don't need to go into the season with Cesar Ruiz as they starter etched in pencil. In pen. Should be in pencil. And you should try to find a guard that can push him. And if he earns the spot, then so be it. But you don't just go into the season just because you paid him X amount of dollars and you want to be able to compensate for that. Nah, you're hurting your line. If we're gonna fix the line, and by we I mean the Saints organization, you need to go all the way. If you got some weak links on the line, then guess what? Got to find ways to elevate. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. If the Saints do get an interior offensive line in the second round, not mad at that either, because you can find yourself a solid, wide receiver in the third round that may be a specialist, and you can probably grow into being that player that you need him to be. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like him too, man. What was that? Trading Stocks, and you have Arizona, Keontae Scott out of Miami. Yeah, two really good solid players right there, man. Stooks. Yeah, two really good solid players, man. I took a look at Stooks maybe like a few weeks ago, man. I like the energy, and he got some dog in him. Keontae Scott, I think that goes without saying. He got some dog in him too. I like how he has amnesia, man, when it comes to like messing up on a play and then he'll bounce right back. He has this confidence about himself that I feel like is going to be infectious in any secondary that he plays in. Yeah, TJ, if we're going to fix the line. I agree. Yeah, you don't leave it incomplete. I think that's basically it, man. I think that's basically it. But at the end of the day, look, I like some of the things that Mickey Loomis said. I don't know if that means something wrong with me or the fact that it just seemed like Mickey Loomis seemed like he got the thing trending in the right direction. You can tell like the confidence of Mickey Loomis has grown over the last year and a half. It seems like, the pressure has been alleviated a little bit. He feels like he got his quarterback, feel like he got his coach. Now you got to get your players. Got to get your players. Got to get your players. Got to get your players, folks. It means absolutely nothing if you don't have the right players. If you do not have the ingredients to cook the good meal, guess what? It is going to taste bad. So hopefully the New Orleans Saints go into the draft on Thursday and get the players that they need in the first round. And the second round, making sure that you get players to build on the momentum that you built last year with a really good, solid draft. You look, the Who Dat Nation is off your case in some cases, but trust and believe they'll get right back on it if they feel like you're not doing what you need to do. But credit to the New Orleans Saints front office doing what they need to do, doing some reflecting, looking in the mirror, and trying to get back to some things to help this team get back to doing some winning. And hopefully in 2026 we see some of that. But thank you all so much for checking out this edition of the Straight Up TJ Podcast. Really do appreciate it. Much love to each and every one of you. And if you enjoyed the show, I ask that you hit the like button. And if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. You can check out previous episodes right here on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, on tomorrow, we will be doing a live NFL draft reaction show. We'll be here for the entire first round. Doesn't matter if the New Orleans Saints pick or not. We're going to be here from start to finish. So come on in. In the words of my boy Dolph, come on in and chill with us. Hope you guys enjoy some of those draft shows in the past if you ever been a part of one. And if you have not, you're in for a treat. All right. Probably going to start. Hopefully we start on time. But if not, then, we probably going to start a little bit later because my son, Paxton, he has his second baseball game of the season, and I'm not missing that. I'm sorry, folks. I'm a father first. I don't care what the heck going on. Like, my little man out there handling his business, doing his thing, and I'm proud of him, and I'm going to be there. So it might run a little bit, might be a little bit behind, but I guarantee I'll be there before the 8 pick. If, it gets a little bit out of hand, I got some people that I can reach out to that can start the show for us. But hopefully you all will be here and we can have ourselves a really good time. But check me out on X, previous episodes here on YouTube. Follow me on X at TJAY Jones 8. Please look at the videos on Bleacher Report. Download the Bleacher Report app. Select New Orleans Saints. You'll see my handsome face on that timeline. Special shout out to everybody been here. Whether you've been here day 1 or day 1021, I really do appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see you down the road.
DJ, yeah. Straight up, let's go. Welcome to Straight Up TJAY. Tap in, sit back, press replay. Been locked in with the Saints on a weekday. Now we talking every sport, every big play. Years on the grind, now we level up the view. From the dome to the world, get a better look at you. No script.